Fall is the perfect time to start making ear warmers as the mornings get chilly and the crisp fall air is on its way. Welcome back to Solo Stitching. I'm Lavina Perry, and today I'm going to show you how to make an ear band, a crocheted ear band, step by step so that you can add this cute little piece to your fall wardrobe. Let's dig right in, grab your yarn and your hook, and let's stitch. So for this project I love this yarn, and this is the burnt pumpkin color. It's a medium weight yarn. This yarn is just really nice to work with, so if you don't need something that has a natural fiber, if you can go with a synthetic, it's nice and stretchy, it's easy to work with, and it is perfect for doing an ear warmer project. So today I'm going to be working with the same kind of yarn. I love this yarn. This happens to be the color Clover, and they're all in their section. I did get this at Hobby Lobby, so if you can find any synthetic medium weight yarn will do perfectly well for this project. And then I am using a size K 6.5 millimeter hook, and we're going to start by chaining 82, and I did measure this for my head, so if you want to measure out how much you're going to need, do the circumference of your head plus 2 inches. And we're going to be making 2 of these pieces. So start the first piece by doing a chain 82, and then I will meet you back here for the next step. Just as a little added clarification on how many chains you need if you're making this for yourself. So 82 stitches made a 19-inch circumference of this headband that fits me. So you can gauge that to your own head. And I did go ahead and measure, and it's 13 stitches is about 4 inches. So just so that you can figure out how many stitches you will need to fit your own head. So 82 for a 19-inch circumference headband. Now I have my 82 chain stitches, and this is a very simple pattern. I did not do anything or get fancy on these strips. So I'm making 2 strips, 1, 2. They're going to be 5 rows wide, and I'm going to alternate between half double crochet and single crochet. So I'm going to start with a half double crochet, end with a half double crochet. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on my first row. For this headband, I'm going to go ahead and do a row of half double crochets, and I am going to be working into the back stitch, or the back loop, pardon me, the back loop of my chain stitches to do my half double crochets, because since I won't be adding any sort of a finishing row or anything like that around the edge of the headband, I do want to create that finished look on both edges of the project. So as you can see, my finished edge is going to look, or my beginning edge is going to look just exactly the same as the finished edge for this project. So I would recommend that you take that little extra bit of time that it takes to work into that back loop on your chain stitches so that you can have a really nice finished edge on the end of your project. So as you can see, like here is the top row, and there is the initial row, and they have the same design, so it looks very finished. If you've never worked into the back loop before, let me just quickly show you. So the anatomy of a chain stitch is that you have your top loop and your bottom loop, and then if you turn it over, you'll see this loop that goes in a straight line in between each of the chain stitches. That is your back loop. So you can insert your hook into that back loop and complete your half double crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my row of half double crochets, and then I will meet you back here. Okay, so I've got my row of half double crochets done. So the next row is going to be a row of single crochets. This first row where you're working into your chain stitches, that is the hardest part of this entire project. So it's all easier from here. So we're going to do a row of single crochets, and then we're going to repeat that. Half double crochet, single crochet. So I'll get my row of single crochets done. At the end of the half double crochets, you're going to chain 1 before you turn and start your single crochets in that first stitch. And then just work your way down the row, putting a single crochet in each stitch along the way. And I will meet you back here at the end of my single crochets. So when you get to the end of your row of single crochets, you're going to do a chain 2 before you turn and start working your half double crochets for row 3. And you're going to work a half double crochet into each stitch, starting in that first stitch all the way down to the end. All right, so we are at the end of row 3. I've done a half double crochet in each stitch all the way down. So I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to turn, and I'm going to do a row of single crochets all the way down, 1 single crochet in each stitch, starting in that first stitch. All right, at the end of row 4, we are going to do 2 chain stitches and then turn. This is going to be our last row for this strip of of material that we're making for our project. So we're going to go ahead and half double crochet in each stitch down, starting in that first stitch, and then you're going to go ahead and fasten everything off at the end. So let's go ahead and get all of these half double crochets done, getting right to the end of our 5th row, which is the last row of this strip, and finishing up these half double crochets. There we go. Last one in that last stitch, and we are done. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a little slip stitch, just because at the end of the day it doesn't really matter, but it makes it just have a little bit tighter of a pull when you're closing it off. So I just clipped my yarn, fastened it off. You can see I have both my tails of yarn here, and that is the first strip. So I'm going to go make another strip just like this. Just to recap, we're going to be starting with a row of half double crochets, and then we're going to complete 5 rows total alternating. So it's going to start with half double crochet, single crochet, half double crochet, single crochet, and then row 5 is going to be half double crochet, and then finish it off at the end. You can go back and watch the instructions again if you need help. I kept it very simple for this because I wanted the emphasis to be on this sort of Celtic knot that we're going to be creating once we get both of the strips done. So I will meet you back here with 2 strips of crochet project ready to weave into our Celtic knot. Okay, so now I have both of my strips are done, and we are ready to assemble this cute little headband. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of the strips and we're going to lay it like a ribbon, like one of those ribbons you would see pinned on someone. So we're just going to cross the ends with one under, and then this is going to just be a little hole here. And then we're going to take the second piece and we're going to lay it like a horseshoe. like that. We can see that whole thing. Okay, so we're going to take this side and we're going to put it under. And we're going to take this end and we're going to go through the hole underneath the leg and pull that up. So we're creating that Celtic knot. Now what we're going to do here is we're just going to grab the leg that's on the bottom. We're just going to bring that from underneath. We're just going to bring that up. So it should look like this. And we're just going to slowly tighten everything down. And we're going to make sure that the parts that we want to be flat are flat. And we're just going to keep tightening until we get it to be the size that we want it to be. So now we can make sure that our ends are even and our knot is in place. And I'm just going to give this one more little tug here. Make sure that that is as tight as I want it. So I don't want it to be too loose and floppy. I want it to be more condensed. So there we go. So now you can see there's that Celtic knot that we see here. So now we're going to move on to the next part, which is we are going to attach the two legs and make it into a single piece like you see here. All right, so to do that we're going to use some yarn and a needle, and we're going to do a mattress stitch all along the side here. I'm just going to pull off probably about a yard or so, should be enough to do both sides of everything. And then I'm going to use a big yarn needle, and you can see how big the eye is in this needle. If you have a big yarn needle like this, it's just the best because you can get your yarn right through first try, no struggles. I'm just going to loop it over a little bit like that, and then we're going to start on this end. And when I do my mattress stitch, I don't go through the stitch like this because that will create a ridge. And if you want to have a ridge, if you like that added detail on your headband, go ahead and work your stitches going through both loops on both sides. Okay, so if I wanted a ridge on mine, I would go back and forth like this, weaving it back and forth through both loops of the stitches. But I don't want that. I want my seam to be flush, and so I'm going to work through the tops of the stitches. And I'm going to start on this side. We're just going to go through this end just to give us a starting point. And then I'm going to work through the top of the stitch. So if you can see this stitch here with the two sides of the stitch, I'm going to go down through the middle and up through the middle of the next stitch, catching that stitching in between. I'm going to catch that with my needle and pull that through. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and I'm going to keep working back and forth all the way to the end where the Celtic knot starts. Now you can look at the stitching there, and you can see it looks just like the rest of the stitching. It's not there's no big gaps or holes or anything in it, so it's really nice. And that's how you do the mattress stitch. So we're going to, since I'm right here on this side, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach this end of the knot to this leg of the headband, just to secure it in place. So when you put it on your head and it gets, kind of pulled and stretched out, that knot stays right where you want it to. And I'm just picking up a loop from the leg of the headband and a loop from the side here, and then we can pull that all down tight. And then I'm going to go through the end here and we're going to flip it over, and we want to get over to this side, the other side of the knot, and I want to fasten this part of the knot to this leg. So rather than cutting the yarn, I'm just going to feed it through in between the stitches so that you don't see it from the other side. There we go. So now that's completely invisible on this side. And I'm just going to do the same thing where I'm just going to pick up a loop and pick up a loop here. And just stitch across. It doesn't have to be fancy. Since I'm doing it all the same color, it's going to blend right in and be invisible. And there we go. Now I'm just going to go ahead and fasten this off with a knot, and I'm going to weave in the end, and then we'll go to the other side. And now I'm going to do the exact same thing on this other side, and then I will come back and show you how to attach the ends to finish off the headband. Okay, so I have all of the sides of the knot are secured. Both sides are completely stitched together. So the very last thing we have to do is just to connect the ends. So with the top of the knot facing up, we're going to bring up both ends and we're going to put them together like this. So with the right sides together. And I just have a little string of yarn left, and I'm just going to start at the corner, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail, and I'm just going to tie a little knot here because I'm going to be weaving that loose end in, but I just want to make sure that it is secure. And then I'm just going to grab one loop off of both sides because this is where we started, and so these are actually the side stitches, so they're not great finishing stitches. Like if you look at the sides going up and down, we have that really nice finished V stitch, but on the end, since these are the sides of the stitch, they're not going to be super even and lovely. So what we just want to do is we're going to do just a light whip stitch just going through that end loop on each side, back and forth, and you'll see when we're done, so we're just grabbing that one loop, it's not going to leave a big seam, which I don't like that big seam look, and since we're whipping it and not going back and forth, it's not going to leave a big seam. So I have finished stitching across the ends of the headband, and you can see it's a very nice flat seam on the inside and the outside, and I can turn this right side out, And we have our Celtic knot is all finished. So our headband is now complete. So I will have the written instructions down in the description for you if you would like to copy them and be able to make this headband for yourself. And also I will have a link to the ultimate guide to crochet for your mental health, because crochet is not just fun, it's good for you. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. And until next time, happy stitching.